Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Getting Real with the Costas. We have not done one of these episodes in a hot minute. We used to do these, I think it was like every other week we started with, and then we kind of moved to once per month.
Yep.
And we took a little break because we want to make sure that we are very intentional with the information that we're bringing to you guys on these episodes. And we actually just got back from Japan. So we want to share maybe like a few different lessons, but also what we really want to talk about today is routines and not being perfect with your routines, how to get back to a routine after, maybe taking some time off of your routines, kind of what that looks like, because obviously we were just in Japan for 2 weeks and our routines definitely look different than when we are at home. And we want to share how we kind of navigate that and some tips and strategies for you guys to have non-negotiables and stick to your routines while also not getting in that like all or nothing perfectionist mindset. So do you want me to start off?
Yeah. Well, I think one of the biggest things is like while we were away, like it's important to recognize too, like travel, just like starting a new job or having like a kind of a new transition in your life, like it can really either like set you up for success or it can derail you if you let it, and if you let it kind of get it like let it overwhelm you kind of through
Mhm.
that transition process. The large part of why we're sharing this today is because like Japan isn't like a 1 or 2 hour time change. It's not something that's like oh my routine is shifting a little bit. Like this is a 10-hour
13
difference.
hours.
13 hours to fly, but like
No, 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 a 13-hour
oh,
difference.
okay, so
Yeah,
13-hour
time
difference,
difference. Yeah.
right? And that's a lot. Like that's literally day and night difference
Yeah.
between how your routine runs, how your body feels, but then also as well too, the culture and the stuff that's there. It like well, like we lost a lot of access to different things, and so we had to make stuff work. And that's why we want to share it with you because it's not about having a routine or a schedule when life is easy, because I think anybody can do that. It's how does your routine, your schedule, your ability to get back on the horse and kind of restart again when life throws you curveballs or when things are totally different. Because if you could do it then you can pretty much do it whenever.
Yeah. I think like my mindset when it comes to vacation or just like being off routine, like I don't see it as like, oh my gosh, like I'm failing, I'm going backwards, I'm off track. I actually was super excited to not be in a routine for 2 weeks because I'm very consistent. Like we're both like we both have solid routines in our life that makes us feel really good, and it's important to have that. But every single day when you're waking up and you're kind of doing the same routine, you're working out, you're maybe doing a morning routine, you're cooking, you're doing whatever. It's like that's great, but when you take time away from that routine, you just get that much more excited to come back into full momentum with full excitement to get back into it. If you're doing the same thing every single day, yeah, it can get boring sometimes. It can get repetitive sometimes. So for me personally, like I was so excited to be away for 2 weeks and like sleep in. Like I wasn't up, we weren't up at well, first day we were both up at like 3 a.m. We were literally
Yeah, I think
in
sleeping is one thing you
Tokyo.
could not do.
We were like literally on the streets of Tokyo at like 5:50 one morning. Like we're like nobody's here. Yeah, because people don't wake up at like 3. We were so jet lagged on the first day, but I was excited to like sleep in a little bit and maybe stay up a little bit later and not like work out. Like we did a lot of walking and like I was excited about that. I remember like you asked me, I think like are we going to be working out? And like I was like hell no. Like just for me personally because I was really excited to like get away from that, right? Like being at home, I do my workouts and I was like I want to explore the different culture. I want to like give my body a little bit of a break. And I came home that much more excited to get back into my workouts and not in the all or nothing mentality of like, oh, I'm on vacation, not going to work out. That wasn't it. It's like I'm doing a different type of movement. We walked a lot and that felt good for my body, right? So I came home getting very excited to get back into my workouts, getting back into my yoga. And I want you guys to take on that perspective shift of, if you are kind of like bored with your routines or you feel unmotivated, you might need to take some time off. Like I was talking to, sorry, I know I talk a lot. I was talking to one of my clients, and then you can share, I promise. Um,
You're good. You're not bothering me.
Okay,
Go.
perfect. So I can just like talk this whole hour. I was talking to one of my clients who she's like a go-getter. Like she loves being in routine, she loves structure. And when I tell her to implement a specific tool, like she'll go and implement it. But she was saying, like, I'm kind of feeling a little unmotivated, and I feel bad if I don't do one of the parts of my routines. And I said, if you're feeling unmotivated, I said, pull back a little bit. Like, literally this week, don't do your morning routine, don't do the meditation. Like, pull back a little bit, because if you're feeling unmotivated, it might just be, again, there's repetition, it's boredom. And if you take a little bit of time off, again, you get that much more excited to go full force with something that you used to do, but it kind of feels new, it feels fresh, it feels exciting. You sometimes need that break, you kind of need that separation to get that excitement back again.
Mhm. Like, remember what I had said this morning to you? Like, I feel like we're almost a full week being back, right?
Mhm.
And I can already feel that the routine is starting to set in and that things are
Yeah.
starting to change.
Mhm.
Like the purpose of shaking shit up, so to speak, is like whenever you're changing your habit, like we get into a large degree of safety doing the same thing at the same time every single day. And
Mhm.
the challenge with that is like, sure, it's great for consistency and you should have a level of consistency in your life. That being said, like growth comes through adaptation. It comes when you have different schedules, when you're working through different challenges. So when those challenges don't exist, what happens is we stop pushing ourselves. So like a lot of the habits that you're doing in your life right now, every single day that you feel bored about, you're probably only giving 50 or 60% to. And that shows up in all areas. Let's say your workouts. Instead of like, hey, I'm going to go and when I'm working out, I'm all in. You're like, I'm going to swing my arms a little bit. I'm kind of going to take 1 or 2 minute rests in between. And you're not all in because it's something that you've just done every single day. And how many things that can you call upon that you think you're doing 100% when you're actually not, because you are fatigued, you're in the grind, you're kind of slothing your way through, just trying to make it to the end of your day.
Or like just checking off the box, so to speak. Like, oh, like I'm supposed to get my workout in today and I'm so tired, but like I'm just gonna go and like just so I can check it off the list, you know?
100%,
Yeah.
right? And this is where, like, especially when looking at what we did in Japan, you like it's important to change things based off of like the environment or the situation that you find yourself in now. So, like in going to Japan, we had like what I think was a really tight time frame because we wanted to see all of it. We spent time in Tokyo, then we went to Kyoto, then we went to Osaka, and we basically had 3 to 4 days in every city, but like we had to travel to those places in between. And one thing about the country is everything is very, very condensed. So it's like it's super accessible by train, but like you have to find the train and the rails, and there's like 300 different lines in different language that you don't know. So like stuff takes time. So for us to be able to go from place to place to place, like there was really no guarantee of like what time we would get to a place, whether or not
Mm,
we would find it on time. So like you can't be at this super, super regimented routine or
yeah.
think that you're going to eat at the same time every day because that's just not possible. You have to
Yeah.
adjust your expectations as to what you're doing through the day.
And I also think this is where your intuition comes in, because you can plan all you want. Like we can plan like, okay, Andrew, we're going to have breakfast at 9 a.m. and then we're going to have lunch at 1 p.m. That never happened. Like some mornings we were literally eating breakfast at 6 a.m. because we had to be somewhere we had to be somewhere by 7:50. So it's like, you got to have breakfast. There were some times where it's like nothing was open until like, what was it? Like 8 o'clock or 7 o'clock.
Yeah, they got like notoriously
Yeah,
late
so
start
it's like
stuff.
you can plan as much as you want, but you need to be flexible. You need to tap into your intuition. You need to be willing to go with the flow, And I think sometimes there's so much like scarcity in that of like, oh, I need to know exactly like where I'm going or what I'm doing, or I need to know exactly when this is. And it's like there's something so powerful about just being spontaneous and being in your flow and like talking about that. I mean, like even me getting my haircut, like, you know what I mean? Like talk about shaking shit up, like just being in the flow, like just not being so regimented, just like, what do I feel like doing today? Like, what do I feel like eating today? Even when it comes to like, the food aspect, you know what I mean? It's like, you're not going to know what you're going to eat when you're going to a different country. It's like, well, we're going to figure it out. We're going to, we're going to go to different restaurants. We're going to see what there is. Like, you can't be so regimented and structured because you're going to let that take away from the experience of being in a different culture, enjoying time with the people that you're with, right?
Yeah, and I mean Japan does a lot of stuff different from
Yeah.
where we're like, so from a food perspective, like uh, Lorna, like you've never had fish before, and like there's a lot of different food items. Like you're not a sushi person, so like
You guys,
there's
I had sushi because I wanted to try it, and I ordered cucumber sushi. Okay, so like rice with cucumber. And I was like, okay, I'm not a
Lorna
huge
thinks
fan.
there's fish in her sushi.
Can I need to share. I need to share my story because it was legit. So I literally was like, okay, Andrew loves sushi, and I don't like if I can just get rice, like without the seaweed, like I'm gonna be happy. But then that's not really sushi. Anyways, so I ordered a cucumber sushi, and I was like, okay, like I don't like the seaweed, but we're gonna figure it out. And then it comes, and then I'm like, there's something in here. Like this is not green, like there's cucumber, but there's something else and it tastes like fish. And Andrew's like, no, if you ordered cucumber, like it's just cucumber. And I freaking knew. I'm like, this is not just cucumber. And I finished the whole thing because I'm like, well, I got to eat something. Like, obviously, I'm going to finish it. And then next thing you know, a second platter comes out with just cucumber. And I realized that I ate the one that Andrew ordered with eel.
Yeah.
Ugh, eel in it. And I died. Like I internally died. He's like, well, you were fine. You ate it. I'm like, well, yeah, because I need to eat something. And then we went out for waffles afterwards because I was like, I need to eat some food. But yeah.
We made the food work, right? But like there were a lot of really, really great things, but like the portion sizes are totally and completely different. So
Yeah.
like that's another thing as well too that we really couldn't like it's not like we were eating multiple times, but like you do want to try food that's of course like on the street and like going to different coffee shops and stuff. So like, there wasn't a lot of like we didn't have a planned place to eat in any city we went to. It was
Yeah.
just, we walked around, we found a spot. If it looked good and the time was right for us, we were like, okay, hey, you know
Yeah.
what? Are you hungry? Let's eat something, as opposed to, our regular routine here, where at least for me, like I've got, my breakfast, lunch, dinner kind of at the same time every day,
I
like a
definitely
routine,
don't do that.
right?
But even like sometimes we were eating dinner at like 8:30, 9 o'clock sometimes,
Oh yeah,
you
it
know?
was different every single
Yeah,
time, but so was our schedule, right?
exactly.
And from an activity perspective, like we typically we exercise at least 4 days a week, and we're very, very on top of it. But like the hotels there in Japan don't have gyms, and exercising is not really a thing. Like I think we saw a total of like two gyms
Hmm.
because people walk everywhere and people
Yeah,
have really busy lives and they
yeah.
work really long hours. So
Hmm.
like movement, our decision for movement became more like a hey, you know what we can do is like we can walk everywhere and we can
Yeah,
actively choose to walk. If it was half an hour or 45 minutes, we were walking there,
yeah,
and we, hit probably 14,000 to 17,000 steps ish a day. And,
yeah. I
and
don't,
yeah, and that movement came from, just, making an effort to just move more and taking the bus and
yeah,
standing when we could. And that was enough activity for us. And Like we made it work. That's the most important thing, is we made what we were doing work for us so we could just do what we're supposed to do with life, which is just show up and enjoy the experience. Because when you have a routine or when you have a schedule, and let's say you're trying to hit a goal with it, and you're like, hey, I'm doing this because I want XYZ, whatever the hell it is, doesn't matter. Okay. There's no purpose of doing something if you lack enjoyment or fulfillment through that thing.
Mhm.
And this is where getting in a mundane routine, or a routine that like you feel like you're grinding away, is actually gonna like prevent you from hitting your goals.
Yeah.
Is like when you get caught in this point where you're like, I do this because I feel I have to, not
Mm.
because I get excited. Like, here's the crazy part. Fulfillment exists in every moment and every aspect of your life. You have the ability and potential to enjoy and experience every single thing, and that includes every single day. So for us to be able to enjoy a trip that was very busy, that had a lot of stuff on the go, we had to relinquish a lot of like rules and a
Yeah.
lot of the day-to-day stuff and our non-negotiables, because at the end of the day, like we would have just been super stressed trying to eat at the same time every day, trying to squeeze in a workout, trying to make sure that we had this much in terms of food. Like we just listened to our bodies. We focused on being intuitive. And by being flexible, it allowed us to enjoy the moment and enjoy the process, which is really, what life's about.
That comes through self-trust though. Like we both trust our bodies. Like when you trust yourself, you don't have to worry about, oh my God, did I eat too much today? Oh my gosh, should I really be eating this? Because you trust that you're going to make the quote unquote right decisions. And when I say right decisions, I don't mean like the lowest calorie option. I just mean you trust yourself to make the decision that is best for you in that moment. Whether it's like, heck yeah, I want pizza tonight, or it's like, you know what? I'm going to get some extra vegetables. Like you just trust that you're making the right decision. When you trust your body, you can take time off from working out because you trust that like you're just going to come back and you can get back into a routine that feels really good for you. Right. So when you have a level of trust, you get to surrender. And this doesn't mean, oh, fall off track, screw everything. Well, if I'm not working out, I'm just going to eat like everything in sight. It's not about that. It's like, I trust myself. I trust myself with the decisions with food. I trust myself with my body. I trust myself with, you know, everything. Like there's just so much self-trust. I trust myself to eat when I'm hungry. I trust myself that I'm going to choose whatever I want on the menu that sounds good for me. Like it's so important to have that level of trust, because when you don't trust yourself, you try to control everything. No, but I have to work out because like I'm on vacation and I don't trust myself. No, but I have to look at the menu like a week in advance because like I don't trust myself. So like I need to know exactly where we're eating, what time we're eating. Like you don't trust yourself. When you trust yourself, you can be more flexible and you can tap into your intuition. And trust comes through just believing that like you're going to be okay. Like it's 2 weeks or it's a week, or maybe you're even at home, you're not even going on vacation, but you're busy with work and you need to shift things in your routine a little bit. Trust that you are going to be okay. Like you're not going to gain 1,000,000 pounds in like 3 days by not following your routine. Like you're going to be okay. Like you are going to be okay.
100%. The word surrender doesn't mean give up.
Yeah.
And people kind of think that it does. If I'm surrendering my power, if I'm surrendering my routine, then that means basically I've said to myself, oh, I've given up. It's not working for me. And I can't do it like this way. And that's not what surrender is. Surrender means that you're giving your power over to basically, like, if you think about it, your needs and everything that's around you, it always works out in your favor. You've always been provided for. You've never like not eating at a certain time is not all of a sudden going to put you in a place where you're going to be starved and you're never going to have a meal the rest of your life. Like you're going to have everything you need in that moment. And life will only provide or show up for you what you can handle. It only gives you what you can handle every single day. So the act of surrender is about relinquishing permission, food rules, expectations, so that way you can experience in the moment. You can
Mhm.
be in the moment, because there's nothing worse than, a lot of the people that we're working with who they get paranoid. A birthday party's coming up. What do I do? What do you mean? What do you do? Enjoy the birthday party.
Yeah.
Like when you do that, you stop having to worry about the small stuff every single day.
Yeah.
And that makes it a lot easier.
Well, even it was funny. There was one stop that we made in Tokyo, and there was a stop where we made where you got something matcha, whether it's matcha tea, whether it's matcha ice cream, whatever,
The
right?
ice cream was decent, but like matcha's so bitter.
I
Like it's
know. Yeah.
crazy.
But anyway, so we met this couple, and they were literally amazing. And we kind of told them, like, we were health coaches and all that stuff. And when one of the guys found out that Andrew got ice cream, he was like, whoa, like he's getting ice cream. And I'm like, we eat like normal people. Like, just because, like, and it's so funny how people think, like, if you're healthy, like you can't have ice cream, or like, oh my gosh, like you're getting ice cream. And it's like, yeah, like we enjoy ourselves, like, you know what I mean? And it's like, again, that comes back to the trust piece. Like, that time I didn't get ice cream, I got a matcha tea, but then the other night we got waffles and we got pancakes, like, you know what I mean? So it's like trusting yourself to know, like, when you want something, not because, oh, I'm on vacation, so I'm going to eat all the ice cream, and like we're going to get dessert
Yeah,
every
we didn't
single
have ice cream
night.
every meal.
And we
Yeah.
didn't get dessert every single night. Like, it was different. But the times that we did want something like that, it's like we did it without guilt, or without like overthinking, or without like, oh my God, how are we going to come back home? And like, literally, like, even after we got home from Japan that night, like, obviously we didn't have any food in the fridge. Like, I'm not gonna go to the grocery store at like 9 o'clock at night when I'm jet lagged and like so freaking tired. So we just stopped at like this wrap place and we just got something to eat. But it's like when you're trying to control everything, it's like, oh no, I'm back home from vacation. No, gotta go meal prep, gotta go do this. And like, yeah, of course, the next day I went to the grocery store or we went to the farmer's market and got some stuff because we need food. But it's not like, oh my God, we went on vacation. Now, like, everything needs to be perfect. Like, I slowly started getting into my routine. I didn't like jump back into it the next day. Like, we slowly got back into routine. And that's because there is no all or nothing mentality. There is no like, oh, on vacation, everything goes to shit. And when I come home, it's like, I need to get back to the swing of things. It's like, trust that your timing of when you're going to feel the best to be in full routine, like that's going to be the time that's going to happen.
Yeah, it's important to recognize that like your life and your dreams and your goals don't get put on pause. Wherever you go, whatever you do, they don't stop. It's just something that you're like you're experiencing that moment and you're doing it fully and then transitioning into whatever the next moment is.
Yeah.
And like I would say like at least I learned a shit ton in the trip from people who aren't willing to settle, but at the same time know that like that there is flexibility and that life, is will give you everything that it needs and that you can trust yourself. Like we
Mm-hmm.
met that one sumo wrestler who, I mean, this gentleman who, at 25 years old has spent the past 3 years trying to get into Japan. Like he lived, breathed, and gave everything that he had to be a sumo wrestler. And even though he wasn't officially a sumo wrestler yet, his ability to show up every day, to put in the work, but also enjoy life and enjoy the culture and take the time to learn Japanese, which is really hard. And he actually like learned it. Like I kind of half learned it and and my Japanese was not good there. But like he was all in on the process.
Mm-hmm.
And because he embodied that process, it's what made him wake up and feel excited every single day.
I
Right.
actually did an entire podcast episode 532, about like the lessons that I've learned in Japan, and I'm pretty sure like I talked about that whole situation as well
Oh,
too.
okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It was
so I
very
mean it's
inspiring.
yeah, it is it's a really kind of big awareness piece.
Yeah.
But like our trip, we were getting a lot of questions like, how are you eating that type of food? Are you guys tracking while you're over there?
Frick, no, we don't
What
even track when we're at home.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like we're not like again, we know how much food is right for our body.
Yeah.
We didn't, eat with what I like to call eat with our eyes, where like you order the entire thing on the menu and then you're like, oh, I've ordered way too much food. Like you eat until you're full, and when you feel full and you're satiated, perfect, then you move on. And everything, even the experience of Japanese culture, like they don't eat on the fly. You will never see someone with a Starbucks cup walking around or eating a sandwich on the fly. One, because there's no garbage cans, but two,
Yeah.
because that's not their lifestyle. When
Hmm.
you eat, you're sitting down, you're stationary, you're present, you're enjoying the food. And that's really what it should be. It should be like taking the time to spend and being intentional with that time.
And it's so interesting because again, another thing too, like I felt very present on our trip. Like we weren't really on our phones, and like I think a lot of the times people think like, oh, going on vacation, like, oh my God, I'm gonna eat so much. Like that's people's automatic thoughts. But for me, it's like I felt like I ate even slower, and we were more present and we were more intentional because it's like, you're going to a new location, you're trying different foods. Ooh, what does this taste like? It's like there is more like intentionality there versus maybe when you're at home and it's like, let me just whip something up quick. Oh, hurry up, got to go to a meeting. Oh, hurry up, got to go here. So, like, even shifting your perspective and not just looking at like getting out of your routine as like, oh my God, I'm going to eat so much because that's everyone's go to. It's like, what if you see it as like, like this is an opportunity for me to like really check in with myself and like how certain foods make me feel and like, just like being present and like, you know what I mean? Like there's like we tried so many different foods, but we were also like just like enjoying the moment and we have a lot more quality time together. Like there's so many benefits of obviously traveling, but like being out of your routine because you get to prioritize different things. Like even back at home, Andrew and I work at home together. But like we spend a lot of time together, but not like every single second of every single day because we have shit to do, right? Like we have our business and stuff. But like when you're out of routine and it's like when we're on vacation, we prioritize more quality time. So it's like sometimes when you feel like you're out of routine, it's like you might be prioritizing something else.
Yeah,
And that's important?
absolutely. And coming back to the control piece, there was a moment closer to the end of the trip when we were coming back where we had tickets for what I thought was a limousine. And it was not a limousine. Apparently limousine in Japan means bus. So we were working out the time to because we had to catch a connecting flight to then come back into Canada. And I say this because it goes to show you that you can take your time and plan and it still not work out the way you intended, which means that you're going to have to make decisions on the fly and based on your gut anyways.
Yep.
So I had looked up and I was like, okay, 45-minute car ride with the limousine. And then we're going to catch a flight here. It'll be an hour wait. Everything will be perfect. So we go to the station to meet our quote unquote limousine. And the guy goes, no, it's a bus. And your bus drive is 3 hours long. And you're not gonna make it. And I
Or
was
they
like,
they were like, you're gonna get to the airport
we're
at
20
like
minutes from our flight.
11:40 and our flight was supposed to be at 12 o'clock. We're like, that's not going
Yeah.
to work.
So in that moment, we had to travel 20 minutes across to a station we've never known, find a train that we've never been on before
Mind you, this is all in like Japanese.
in Japanese, okay? Get a ticket in a different format so we could then ride the bullet train and be faster. But you know what? We got there, we found the person, we got the ticket, we hopped on the train, we showed up an hour early, and it all worked out as intended. But there was this brief, I would say, moment of, and I'll say fear, where I was like, oh shit, are we gonna miss a connecting flight? Are we gonna then, is all of this gonna be derailed and all of a sudden we're gonna have to book another flight or take another plane? But like, you're always in the right place, and life will always work out as it should.
I always say like everything's working out in perfect timing. Like the whole time I was like, don't worry about it. Like
Hmm.
everything's gonna work out. Like it's gonna be fine. Because what's the worst case scenario? Like you miss the thing and you book another flight. Like, you know what I mean? I think like you can't spend your life also like just being so stressed and like so worried. Obviously, you want things to go well and things like that. But like we planned the night before, like, okay, 45 minutes. Okay, well, if we get here, then we're gonna get there at that time. We planned everything. And shit can still, hit the fan and things can be we were shocked. Like we get there and they're like, oh, it's a 2 hour or a 3 hour thing. And we're like, we thought it was like 45 minutes. Like, you know what I mean? And you just have to adapt, and that even goes with, your food. Maybe one day you ate too much, you know, and like that's okay. Like your body's going to adapt. Maybe the next day you don't eat as much, not because you're intentionally restricting, but it's just like maybe you're not as hungry, right? So it's like the more you try to control, the more out of control things feel. And it's like if you just trust you remind yourself that everything's working out for me, like you can surrender, you can have that trust.
Absolutely. We
Yeah.
made our flight, everything was fine. We made our way back home, and all is as it should have been. But yeah, Japan taught us that like even in the strangest conditions or the weirdest times and the time shifts, like everything is going to continue to operate and work for you. And that's the
Mhm.
most important thing. But you do, so now coming back in here, when we came back into Canada, we didn't just like, oh, now it's going to be the same shit, different day every single time. Like, no, like I know I made adjustments to the things that I was going to do. I know that I got super clear on like, hey, I felt great in Japan. Here were some things that didn't work for my routine. And you make adjustments and you
Mhm.
start to adapt. And this is why, too, sometimes being and doing the same thing every single day doesn't help you grow, because if you're in the same circumstances, you can't change things because you don't
Yeah.
know anything else.
Yeah.
So, in putting ourselves in that different space and in a different country, it allows us to then be and say, hey, you know what? I actually really like the fact that, like, midday we had lunch a little bit later usually, or, again, I didn't really have like, for example, like coffee. I like my coffee, but like, just shit was not open in the morning, and like
Yeah.
it was like 11:30 or like 12 o'clock or 2 o'clock by the time we had something, and that was okay, and I felt
Yeah.
great, and I was like, perfect, you know what, that's something that I'm going to have in my routine now. So
Yeah.
you start to adapt, and the things that serve you and that move you closer to what you want, you're going to do more of naturally.
Yeah.
And the stuff that doesn't serve you will naturally push itself away from you. And you know what you're doing already. You know deep down in your heart what you're doing if it's not working and if it's not for you.
Yeah.
You know it. Okay. Maybe you're on a diet and you're like, hey, it's not working. I know this. I don't feel good. It's too much. It feels super overwhelming. Okay, intuitively your life is going to prevent it, like it's going to prevent you from doing things that you're not supposed to be doing. And then as it pushes that away, just be open and decide, like the word deciding, take away the stuff that's not serving you so then you can focus on the one thing to move forward.
Yeah. I came back from Japan and I just felt so creative. I've been launching like podcast after podcast. I've been giving like my clients like the best ideas. Like there's just like a fresh new energy I felt, coming back from Japan because again, like when you like take some time off from something and then you come back, it's like there is creativity, there's like fresh new ideas. And again, like you can apply this to your life as well too. Like again, just like taking that space for yourself, you come back with a different fresh energy and just like excitement,
Mhm. 100%. I agree, right? Now, here's where the real key is, right? You can change a situation and get an immediate boost of that motivation or that energy. How do you keep that going? The word momentum. How do we continue to keep building on that? This is where we have to keep challenging ourselves. We can't be okay with everything is normal, everything is standard, and everything is the same. The same means you're not growing. The same means you're not challenging yourself. So maybe in your life, things are going really good, and you need to be asking yourself, why can't they be great?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe there are things in which you're thinking to yourself, oh, you know what? Like that's just a dream. Like go for it, challenge yourself, become uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Because I can tell you something, we're all in a place of safety. We're all trying to build a parachute to guarantee our landing, but like nothing guarantees your landing. So if you're going to land somewhere, if you're going to work towards something, if you're not going to be okay with the status quo, make it something you want. Make it something you want to achieve. Because why not? You're going for something anyways.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with that. I think it's easy to be complacent and be like, things are going good, or like, like things aren't horrible, or like, whatever. But it's like, I think something that we've gotten really good at is like, we don't want to just be normal. We don't want to just be average. We just don't want to live a good life. Like, we live a good life and we're always like, how can we make our lives even better? Like, how can we be even better, even with our health, with our mindset, with our finances, with whatever it is. It's like, how can we be the best version of ourselves like every single day? Like even yesterday we went on a walk and we were like, it's so amazing how we can just like go on a walk in the middle of the day or whatever time it was, and like, that's great. And it's like, but we have other goals that we want to achieve, or like, you know what I mean? It's just like we're always just like looking to make things even better than the life that we live, because it is a lie to believe that like you just have to live a good life. It's like, I want to live a life where like no one else is living this life. Like I want to create like the best life possible, where it's like, how are you even doing that? That's
Yeah.
just, yeah.
And one of the things quickly before we finish up the episode, like I had the opportunity to meet my coach in Japan and
His Japanese
my
instructor.
my my instructor.
Yeah.
And um there's such a powerful, and I bring this up because like the reason why the trip, well, a large part of the reason why the trip went as well as it did is because I took that time to learn, and it really helped immerse me in the culture. And when meeting and sitting down and speaking with him, it also shows me how much we actually have and how truly grateful we are, because he hasn't been able to travel in 6 years because the Japanese dollar is just, it's not strong. It's so weak, it would cost 10 times the amount to travel than it would for us. And I say this because like maybe you're working towards a goal, you're having a hard time hitting it, and it's like you're feeling that struggle or that challenge. But you have so much that is going well for you already that either you don't appreciate, you discredit, you don't recognize. And it's important to realize what you have. Because the way that we build on new goals, the way that we build on new dreams is to recognize how good we have it. There, like, to be able to, like, I'm sorry, like Japan, like to be able to sit on a toilet seat that's heated, that's wild, and squirts water in your butt, that's wilder. That's crazy.
Andrew tried
People
that.
don't
I did
have
not try that. He tried it
people have
multiple
that.
times.
Yeah, I think it's genius. I think it's the best thing. But like it's the small little things that you can do every single day that maybe
Like
somebody
squirt water in your butt.
squirt water in your butt, that is like you should be amped. You should be excited about every single day. You have so much going for you, and you can and will hit and achieve whatever you want. You
Yeah.
just got to go for it.
Yeah.
And don't be worried about the perfect or imperfect routine. Don't be worried about, does it look like the same every single day? No, as long as your next step is on the same ladder to whatever the end goal is, that's all you need to know every single day.
Yeah. You don't even know, you don't need to know the how, you just need to know what it is that you want. And when you know what that vision is and you believe that you can have it, like you will get there.
Mhm.
Boom.
I agree. Boom.
All
Nice.
right. Thank you guys for listening to another episode of Getting Real with the Costas. It's been a hot minute, but we are in May. We had just like an amazing time in Japan. We wanted to share this with you guys. So we're not sure when the next episode is going to be, but again, we really want to be intentional with these. Like when we have something important that we want to share, something that we feel like it's going to be very valuable, then we'll do another episode. And of course, if you guys have any like topic recommendations that you would like us to talk about, we do this for you guys to create value for you. So just message, either myself or Andrew, and we can make an episode on that. So
Yeah.
thank you guys so much for listening to another episode of Getting Real with the Costas, and we'll see you guys in the next one.
Bye.
Bye.